you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Hey, good morning, good morning. It's Tom Young here, filling in for Eddie Crow this week for a couple of days. Trying to light a fire, make people feel better, realize that there's great things in the future that can happen if you expect them. It's all about how you think. Our journey today, yesterday we talked about a lot of bad things that were going on and some of how we got to this point where we're at. There are a lot of irons in the fire right now, so to speak, or things sitting on the edge of the cliff that could go over the hill and change our lives like we never thought they could. We'll cover a lot of things today and more tomorrow, but I'm here today. I start every program with a prayer for everybody in the world. The COVID virus that came out of the Wuhan lab, that is now a fact. It's operated by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and whether it was launched accidentally or on purpose, we all have our opinions. And my opinion is, maybe it was a test. They're talking about they have an Ebola virus that they're developing in one of these gain-of-function laboratories in China that is a 90% effective rate. Now, that's the scariest thing on the planet when you say a 90% effective rate. And the article I read yesterday in Epoch Times, I can't promote that newspaper enough. Everybody, it's $50 a year. You get a paper a week, and you get real current stories, real research from people that are qualified reporters and report on a lot of information. And this Ebola study that is going on is they're trying to bio-design it so that it fits an ethnic category. I mean, there was one of the last James Bond movies that Craig was in, and it was about a bioweapon that was created that, depending on your DNA, if you were part of a family that all had similar DNA, if they could design this bioweapon that would attack your family line, your DNA. And that was a movie 3-4 years ago that was a James Bond movie. Now, it's scary to think about that because I remember when I was a kid, when we watched Buck Rogers, and I'm sure a few of you remember Buck Rogers, and if you watched the screen closely, once in a while you would see the silver wire that was holding the fake rocket and spaceship in appeared to be in the air, and way they did that. But doggone it, don't we have rockets and spaceships today and things that are going on that not too many years ago you would have never thought would be here? The acceleration of information and knowledge is beyond measure at this point in time. When you look at what Elon Musk created and the Tesla and robotics and the things that are going on, this man is nothing but a visionary in what he has done, and the rocket industry and being able to send rockets up and reuse the same one over again. Excuse me. So as we journey through today, I have a guest at 10 o'clock. So today I'm going to talk more about the good things. And let me go back and finish my prayer. Lost my thought. We were praying for everybody that was affected by the virus, had their health impaired. We pray for a healing. We pray for those who have lost loved ones and the loved ones who have been lost, that the Lord would open his arms and gather them into his kingdom of heaven above. We pray that there would be some common sense input into the heads of these people in Russia and Ukraine, so that somehow somebody would sit down at a table and decide to start talking about peace instead of destruction and killing. and what is going on in Israel, what happened on October 7th is unconscionable. And we pray that there would be a resolve, and the people that perpetrated those terrible, terrible things could be let the Lord take care of them in his own way. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you for that. And you know, it's funny. I've got all these notes all over in front of me today. We talked yesterday about a lot of things. But my buddy Lenny Rainier was on, and there are only 5 elements that you got to be concerned with. And we're going to talk a little bit about those this morning. Don Blanton, who's coming on at 10 o'clock, is one of my another mentor of mine, and he has created a program that allows me to prove mathematically with calculators and that the most efficient plan that you could be involved in. Everybody's different. I know everybody is not going to do the same thing. My program with the Family Money Farm, the CFO project, there are 4 basic rules that you have to implement, and they're not something you can do just like that. They're things that you have to work at, to develop. And in all these initials after my name, COU, CHFC, and what are they? Well, COU is Chartered Life Underwriter, and that was a college course that dealt with risk, life insurance, liability, and those type of things, and how they fit into our nature, how do they fit into our planning process. The Chartered Financial Consultant, CHFC, was around before CFP, Certified Financial Planner. But the CHFC is 10 courses. The CFP course is 5 of those courses. So in taking the CHFC, I took the CFP courses plus 5 additional courses, which ended up with the designation of Chartered Financial Consultant. So it's the CFP on steroids. Maybe the CFP is like an associate's degree, and the CHFC is the full bachelor's degree in how that applies. The most recent initials that I did was RICP, Retirement Income Certified Professional. And a guy named Wade Fowle, who is the director of this department at the American College in Bryn Mawr, PA, created this program. And honestly, in going through this program, it was one of the toughest of all the ones that I've taken. But I learned more about retirement planning and what was going on in this course than all the other courses that I've taken. I have RFC Registered Financial Consultant and CSA Certified Senior Advisor. So my whole 49-year career, because my licenses for life insurance and investments and all the licenses I have, they require CE credit. So I have to complete educational courses annually, just like a lawyer would. Doctors have to have CE courses, et cetera. And you can buy these $125, $29 courses for 6 credits, and I need 24 credits every other year, which is a lot. And so when I started this journey years and years ago, and they imposed these CE credit requirements, I just decided I was going to take college courses, and that's how I've got through all of the education, maintain my CE credits that I have to have, and so on. So the 5 elements that Len talked about yesterday that I talk about are risk, taxes, regulations, inflation, and devaluing of the money. I want to talk about those a little bit in our first segment today. Risk is subjective, not objective, but subjective. When somebody comes in now as an IR, investment advisor representative, I work with an RIA, registered investment advisor, versus a broker-dealer. A broker-dealer is different, and I was with a broker-dealer up until 2018, and I just decided it didn't fit what I was doing, because working with a broker-dealer is sort of more retail sale of stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And I never did that, and I didn't want to do it. So I don't manage people's money. I have two management firms that manage my clients' money. One is called Howard Capital. Their name is Howard Capital. They're out of Atlanta, and they manage billions of dollars of money. The other one is Flexible Plan Investments. They're out of Detroit, and they manage billions of money. Now, their approach is different. When I explain this to clients, you can either be a passive investor or you can be an active investor. Now, what do I mean by that? A passive investor, now everybody, if you came to my office or to any advisor that offers stocks, bonds, mutual funds, market-type products, you would answer a series of 12 to 15 questions in what is called a suitability study. And those questions are going to ask you touchy-feely questions. If your portfolio went down by 10%, how would you react to that? Would you be very disturbed? Would you accept it and understand that investing has risk? Or would you want your money out of the market? So you get the idea. This suitability study is a series of questions. Each question has a numerical answer, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 5, 7, whatever, but each answer has a numerical value. Once you've answered those 12, 15 questions, we total up the numerical value of the way you answered the questions, and it comes up with a number that might be 19, 22, 28, etc. And the higher the number, the more risky you would be, okay? And the risk is conservative, moderate, balanced growth, or aggressive growth. So the higher the number, the more growth-oriented or even aggressive growth-oriented that you would be in what we're doing. And now, if you understand that suitability, from there we go into this active and passive management. We're going to take a break, okay, we're not going to take a break right now. We're going to go for a little while yet. Ryan, my guy here, he is absolutely phenomenal, and I love to talk, and I love to share information with people, but I don't want to go over there and look at all of those buttons on that board that he sits in front of to make all this stuff reasonably sound and et cetera. But passive and active investing. You've gone through the suitability study, and here's your number. Now, investments in the marketplace are categorized in those categories: conservative, balanced, et cetera. They're categorized. So if you're in the balanced category, balanced would be like 50% bonds and 50% equities. It would be a balanced portfolio. A conservative portfolio might be 60, 70% bonds and 30, 40% equity. So you get the idea. And it is thought that bonds are less risky than equities are in companies. And there lies the thinking behind that. So now if you're a passive investor, you've gone through the suitability study, and the advisor, the broker, whoever you're working with, he's going to put together a portfolio of investments that meet your suitability standard, the suitability that you are. And they're going to place these investments, and then you're going to sit back and watch and wait. There's no active management. So nothing can be moved unless the broker calls you and asks you what you want to do. So the passive management people, thinking they're counting on the broker to do something, is a fallacy, because the broker isn't going to do anything. He's not authorized to make changes to your account in any way, shape, or form without your authorization. So you're just an account sitting there that he makes a fee on that could be anywhere from 1% to 2.5% or maybe even 3% annual fee on your money, and he gets your fee whether you make money or lose money. If you lose money, they get less of a fee, but the percentage is still the same as the fees. Now, let's talk about active management of money. So now we choose an investment manager. You know, we're going to talk a lot about management today. Cash flow management we're going to talk about today. But right now we're talking about asset management in an investment account. We're going to sign a paper and give the authority to this registered investment advisor, this advisor, broker-dealer, whoever it is, and they are now, based on some parameters, they're going to move you in or out of the stock market. Now, the passive investor, he's going to ride the roller coaster and enjoy the high highs of the market, and he's also going to enjoy the low lows. So when the market goes down, he's going to ride it all the way to the bottom is where we're talking about. Active investment is they're going to try to get all of the upside they can of the stock market, but they're going to avoid the low of the market. And let me give you an example of that. In March of 2020, in the throes of COVID, in the month of March, the stock market dropped from 29,000 on the Dow to 19,000 on the Dow in March of 2020. My advisors, both of them, were 50 to 70% cash by the middle of February. They made some decisions, saw the handwriting on the wall, and they use algorithms in the marketplace. And what is an algorithm? An algorithm is like a spider web. You ever walk in the woods and all of a sudden the pathway, there's this big spider web right in front of your face and you almost walked into it and there's that big black guy, brown guy, whatever. He's sitting there with his 8 legs in the middle. Now, if you touch any tine of that web, he's coming to get you because you're food. He's looking for food, waiting for somebody to get caught in the net, and then he's going to eat you. But that's what an algorithm, so the market never stops vibrating. Sometimes it vibrates more or less than at other times. So this algorithm, being a spider web that touches a lot of the areas of the market, sends messages to the management, and it gives them an indication. Then they look at other things and decide to get you out of the market or in the market and keep you safe. So hopefully you don't ride it all the way to the bottom. So they started going to cash in the middle of February. By the end of March, the market had dropped to 19,000 on the Dow. I took money out. I made a loan against my life insurance policy. We're going to talk about that today. And I put $25,000 in the market. Well, by the end of the year, the market had recovered and made me money. I was able to put the $25,000 back that I had borrowed on this life insurance policy, and I had made almost $9,000 in profit by the end of the year. And that's simply the difference between active and passive management. So today's going to be a positive education day. We're going to take a break, go to the news, and we'll get back at it afterwards. God bless.
Honey, I found the perfect place for my parents and us.
Where?
St. Barnabas. For us, the Woodlands Carriage Home Community. And for my parents, condominium-style living at the Village. My folks will love the Village. There's an indoor mall with shops, restaurants, and more. And we can relax, knowing they're safe and secure.
That's what I plan to do when we move to St. Barnabas. Relax.
Call 724-444-5568 or visit stbarnabascommunities.com.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
If you're considering funeral pre-arrangements to relieve your family of making decisions under stressful conditions, consider Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. The cemetery was founded in 1865 by community leaders to provide a beautiful area for proper burials. It's now one of the oldest ongoing institutions in Beaver County. Here are 5 reasons to choose Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. It's a nonprofit with a perpetual care fund to ensure future upkeep and maintenance. Beaver Cemetery offers attractively priced burial spaces and mausoleum crypts. At Beaver Cemetery, private mausoleums and memorials are permitted. It's a beautiful and peaceful historical landmark setting with a heated and air-conditioned chapel in the mausoleum. And finally, Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum is centrally located to serve all of Beaver County. Why not contact Beaver Cemetery today? Their courteous staff will help you with your decisions concerning burial alternatives and selections available. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, Buffalo Street, Beaver. Call 724-774-8039 or go online beavercemetery.net.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George. At Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George, they have the resources available to see your case from start to finish. Attorney Larry Kelly.
You know, at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George, we're big boys. We assume all the costs, and we don't expect you to pay a penny. Now, what happens is, if you go to trial and the verdict is not favorable, you don't owe us any fees, nor do you reimburse us the cost. Now, if we're successful, then you'll pay a fee and you'll reimburse us the cost from the recovery. That's the way we do it at LGKG, and that's the way we've done it forever.
For your initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024. We can expect partly sunny skies today with a high of about 72 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. PennDOT District 11 wants to remind motorists that the long-term closure of the Rochester-Monaca Bridge is set to begin today. The anticipated closure will take place as early as noon and will last continuously through Tuesday, August 20th. The start of the closure is dependent on the intersection work at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, and it could begin later depending on when that work is completed. Crews will conduct various construction activities and traffic will be detoured. We have received a report of a shooting that took place in Beaver Falls early this morning. A neighbor of the incident told Beaver County Radio 16 shell casings were found in his yard. We are currently awaiting a statement and update from the police. The NFL's longest tenured head coach isn't leaving Pittsburgh anytime soon. The Steelers have signed Mike Tomlin to a 3-year extension that will carry through at least the 2027 season. Tomlin was about to enter the final year of the deal he agreed to in April of 2021. The 52-year-old is 173-102 with a Super Bowl victory since taking over for Hall of Famer Bill Cowher in 2007. Tomlin has yet to endure a losing season, and despite speculation late last season that he was considering taking some time off, he remains intent on trying to help the Steelers stay in the mix in a highly competitive AFC. As the summer vacation season gets underway, gasoline prices continue their downward trend, falling 9 cents since last week to $3.44. It marks the largest weekly drop of the year. Tepid gasoline demand, increasing supply, and lower oil costs are contributing to the drop in gas prices. Today's national average is 19 cents less than a month ago and 18 cents less than a year ago. If you're going to get gas in Beaver County, the average price you can expect to pay is $3.88. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was treated at a local hospital for a bruised shoulder after a car accident Sunday morning, according to a statement from his Senate office. He was released from the hospital Sunday afternoon. The statement said Fetterman and his wife Giselle were involved in an accident with another driver. They were both evaluated at a local hospital and discharged within hours. The senator returned to his home in Braddock and is expected to be back in the Senate for votes this week. A spokeswoman for Fetterman says the senator was driving the car when the accident took place on Interstate 70 in Maryland. And Pennsylvania State Senate is advancing legislation to outlaw the distribution of salacious or pornographic deepfakes, with sponsors saying it'll eliminate a loophole in the law that had frustrated prosecutors. The bill was approved unanimously Monday and was sent to the House. It comes as states are working to update their laws. Under the bill, one provision would be to make it a crime to harass someone by distributing a deepfake image of them without their consent, and the offense would be more serious if the victim is a minor.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A lovely day in store for us with mostly sunny skies and mild temperatures with a high near 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, will drop down to a low around 51. More sunshine tomorrow, a bit warmer with a high near 80 and an overnight low of 58. More sunshine in the forecast for Thursday, a big jump in temperature, look for a high near 88. And mostly sunny on Friday with a chance of showers and thunderstorms through the early part of the day. A high near 83 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 9, we've got a temperature of 58 degrees with sunshine in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, we're back. Another segment, another day, more information. Yeah, we were talking about risk and talking about active management and passive management. There is a way to insure an equities portfolio. Yeah, that's what I said. I said insure an equities portfolio. And I just want to mention this. So if you have somebody that's managing a substantial portfolio for you, and it's not in the active management category, I would want you to ask him a question. Is he using puts and calls in order to insure or protect your portfolio? Now, what are puts and calls? Those are for a very small fee. If you own XYZ stock, okay, and it's $50 a share, and you can set up a put, which means if the value of the stock starts to decline at down 10% at $45, it would automatically sell your share. So it's a mechanism in management of investments that can prevent large losses. So you can put a 10% stop loss, is what it's called, on an individual stock. And they're good for 90 days and they have to be renewed, so they're not forever. But again, they're just management tools. Another one option is a call. So if you have a stock that you really, really like and you believe it's going to go up, you can buy a position that's maybe $55 in this example. It's $50 today, but you think this stock is going to go crazy. So you put in a call at $52 or $55 or whatever, and that call, when that stock starts to rise, whoever has it, they have to sell it to you for that price. So you can lock in a price. So those are options: stops, calls, puts and calls, and options to manage your trading. If you're a day trader, you can do this yourself through your broker-dealer. You can set it up to do that. But I just wanted to come back and mention that about risk in what we were talking about. So you got passive management, you got active management. You either manage the losses and so that you don't lose big. And that doesn't guarantee, because if the market goes crazy and some big black swan event occurs and the market, boom, it's down 30 points in a couple of hours, it's not easy. You're not going to be able to protect that kind of a drop in the market. But those kind of drops happen, but they're not that often when the market goes down. But again, active and passive management on stocks. The next category is taxes. And I want to talk about taxes because I think people are people don't generally understand taxes. The tax code has, 5,000 pages in the tax code. It is enormous and immense. I believe the solution is coming through NESARA. And again, that's another topic today we're going to get into today and tomorrow. But if I look at the tax code, and this is last year, and so you have categories in the tax code, whether you're single or you're married, filing jointly, head of household, married, filing separately, and estate returns. So when I look at the schedule, and I'm going to look at married filing jointly, well, we know today that in the tax code that Donald Trump created, now this tax code as it sits right now has a sunset provision in 2025. So if we don't get Republican control of the government this fall, then the tax code as we know today is going to revert back to the old tax code of prior to Trump. And there are some big, huge ramifications in this reverting back, this sunset on there. Now, so the first $24,000, and I'm assuming you're under 65, because at 65 you get a little bit extra, but typically a husband and wife filing jointly, the first $24,000 of income is considered a deductible expense. You know, it used to be, if you're familiar, you would do the long form taxes and you have the short form taxes. And in order to do the long form, you had to have a certain amount of deductions. You had to reach a limit, a certain amount, in order to be able to file the long form. Now, the difference between the long form and the short form of old, in the short form, if you were a big charitable giver, you were limited to $25 charitable gift on the short form. You only got to deduct. So if you gave thousands of dollars to your church, the only way you would get that deduction is if you did a long form tax form, okay, to get that deduction. So you actually lost it in the short form, that charitable deduction. However, under the new tax code, an individual, a single taxpayer, gets $12,000 upfront deduction, and a married couple gets $24,000. And I don't know the numbers, but I believe that encompasses a large percentage of society that probably in the past, you know, they live their job, they go to work, home to work, work to home, 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 home to work, work to home. That's 1 week. And we do that 52 weeks a year. And they never really could do a long form tax form. You know, we've lost deduction. You used to be able to deduct your mortgage, and then you could also deduct a home equity loan, the interest on that. Well, that's now gone. So the only deduction relating to your house is the mortgage would be a deduction. And to hit $24,000, that would be a very large mortgage. So this is a real benefit to people to be able to deduct you have $24,000 upfront deduction. Now, then the first tax is 10% on $0 to $22,000. So we've made $24,000, and that was a deduction, so there was no tax. The next $22,000 is a 10% tax. And then from there, it goes from $22,000 to $89,450, and it's a 12% tax. So if your income, taxable income, was $89,450 or less, your tax was a combination of some 10 and some 12. Now, there is two definitions. So you have the marginal tax rate, which is what we're talking about. And then you have what we call the effective tax rate. Now, what's the effective tax rate? You take your gross income and the total tax you paid, and you divide, and then it comes up with an average percentage of your gross income that you paid in income tax. So if I got 24 no tax, the next 11 was 10%, and the next, next 22 was 10%, and the next 67 was at 12%. So your average tax might be 8 or 9%, if you understand that. So the effective rate would be the average of the tax I paid in relation to my gross income. The next category goes from $89,451 to $190,750, and now you're at the 22% tax bracket. So even at the 22% tax bracket, your income is now $190,000. Your effective rate, you probably paid, now we're talking federal income tax, and we'll get into to the real tax rate. You probably paid maybe 10 or 12% is the average tax that you paid at this point in time as an effective tax rate looking at the tax code. Then from 190 to 751 to 364, 200, it's 24%. So the highest tax bracket, if you're under 364, 200, but above 190, 751, the tax on that excess over 190, 751 is 24%. So we have a graduated tax. So therefore, if I have other expenditures, if I have deductions that are more than $24,000, then I get into being able to deduct other things. But you got to have more than $24,000 in qualified deductions in order to use that long form now in going forward. So the highest tax rate is over $693,750. It's 37%. So let me give you some perspective to this now. If I go back to Ronald Reagan in 1952, in his memoirs, he told the story about he made a movie. He was the first actor in Hollywood to make $1 million for a movie. And the movie was Bonzo Goes to Washington. Now, some of you more chronologically gifted folks would remember that. And those that aren't chronologically gifted might not remember that movie. But it was a big hoopla about this monkey that he had, and he was in government, went to Congress, and he made $1 million. However, if you do some research, the maximum marginal tax rate in 1952 was 92%. Now, when Reagan went to the paymaster on the movie lot to get his check, he said he picked his check up and he saw the $1 million on there, but the tax withholding was $900,000. So when he got his check, he only cleared $100,000 out of the $1 million that the check was for. And that was in his memoirs. That was when he said he changed his affiliation from Democrats to Republican, and that was the beginning of his life as being a real conservative. So if we understand taxes, however, if I have a list, and there is over 100 different taxes. We pay tax on everything. I mean, if I buy a car, I have sales tax. I have license tax. If I have a rental property, I have borough tax, I have county tax, I have school tax, I have tax. There is usury tax. If I go on an airplane, there's another tax on for the airport. They collect money for using the airport that the airplanes land in. If I stay in a hotel, there's 2 or 3 different taxes: luxury tax, travel tax, occupants tax that they add on. And my thought is, if you look at all the taxes we pay, I believe we pay somewhere between maybe 45 to 60% of our income goes in taxes of some kind or another. So when I talk about these rates that I was just explaining, that is only the federal income tax. Doesn't include state income tax, local tax, county tax, school tax, user tax, rental property tax, tax, a highway tax. I mean, when you look at gasoline in Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas tax rates in the state. That's why a lot of times you can drive across the border. We live in Western PA, and for convenience sometimes, we can drive over to Ohio and buy a gallon of gasoline from 40 to 60% less per gallon than we pay in Pennsylvania. So taxes are a very onerous thing. Now, where did they come from? Let's go back. And we know the Federal Reserve, but it's not federal in any way, was created in 1913, but so was the IRS. So the IRS was created at the same time as the Federal Reserve. Now, I'm working on a new book The Scoundrels of Finance is the working title I have on the book right now. I've been working on it a while. No, I don't know when it's going to be done. It's a work in progress. But in my book, if you go back into 1905, 1906, 1907, in that period of time, there were the Morgans, the Mellons, and I mean, there was about 43 different families at that time that were worth millions of dollars, $100 million or more. And in my mind, looking at the value of the dollar today, in their time, they would have been considered, if they were today, they would be billionaires. And in that control of all of that wealth that they had, I got to believe if they had enough greed to sit down on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia and think up the Federal Reserve, and which is not federal in any way, and that they would think up the Internal Revenue Code. And in the beginning, it was supposed to be a temporary tax. I mean, it says right in this in the beginning was a temporary thing. It was not to be a permanent thing. But in my mind, in my book, my opinion is that these multi-millionaire people at that time, they didn't ever want anybody else to be able to have the ability to become as rich as they were. So therefore, they created and thought up the income tax code. Well, what do you think the marginal rate was? Now, in the beginning, it was like 80% if you made $1 million. Now, these guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, so they made a lot of money. So if you made $1 million in a year, the marginal rate went to 90% or 80%. In the late 30s, they did a move on the tax code where for a while it was if you made more than $1 million, that got you to the highest tax rate. And then they dropped the maximum rate to $200,000. So if you made $200,000, the next dollar you made was 90% tax. So in my mind, I mean, who could think about what was going through these rich people's minds back that time? And when you get that rich, sometimes it becomes a downfall and it gets in your head. And now you get, I don't want anybody else to get my money. I don't want anybody else to be as rich as I am. I like what I do. I like what I got. And I want to be the king of the hill. Now, what I just said, let's come to today. Now, today we have the World Economic Forum, the One World Order, the United Nations Army of the World that they're talking about. They're talking about 15-minute cities. Now, what the heck, 15-minute city? That means they want everybody to move out of the country into these tall apartment buildings where you in 15 minutes could walk and get anything, any necessity that you needed to get. That's what a 15-minute city is. Now, who's talking about this? It's the billionaires. That's who's talking. You know, we can sit here and go home to work, work to home, home to work, work to home, home to work, work to home, and we live our life paycheck to paycheck. We live every day taking care of the kids. I got 2 grandkids. They're everything in my life. But in my heart, my mission is to make sure that those 2 little boys, when they grow up, they're 7 and 9, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity. And understand what an opportunity is. It's not a free thing. It's something you have to do to get it. In other words, there's no free lunches. There's no free lunches in the insurance business. There's no free lunches in the financial business. If you think something is free, then you're thinking wrongly, because there is no free. You have to work for everything that you got and everything that you get. Now, a little bit more, I want to jump back to risk. And I have one other thing I want to talk about, and it's the Monte Carlo analysis. I mentioned this yesterday, but when you look at brokers putting together investment portfolios, here is your financial plan that is looking at your retirement at age 65 or 70 or whenever you're going to retire. And it makes all these assumptions. Now, you know what the word assume means, don't you? It's an A out of you and me. And there it is. So in typical financial planning, all these initials after my name, this is what they taught me, was how to estimate rates of return. So we would make a 30-year projection of a rate of return to determine what your future retirement would look like, how much money I need when I get there. And this is what my buddy Don Buddy is going to talk about at 10 o'clock. We're going to talk about these questions. You know, how much am I going to need when I get there? How much interest do I have to make on the money in order to have enough when I get there so that I can retire and maintain my lifestyle throughout my life expectancy with adjustments for inflation. And that kind of a plan requires tremendous amounts of savings and money going forward. So the third question is, when are you going to retire? What's the date? Well, I have a document. I brought it today. We'll get to it either today or tomorrow. The real retirement date is age 87. We're sitting, I'm going to retire at 65, 67. And I work at convincing people to wait to age 70. Now, how do I think this way? Well, in 1890, there was an economist in Germany named Bismarck. And his prophecy, his statement was, a German worker should be able to retire at age 65 and receive some kind of government stipends. Life expectancy in 1890 was 49 years old. So how many people actually lived age 65? Not many, okay? So along come Roosevelt in 1933 to come up with Social Security, which is a pyramid scheme, and I'll elaborate on that. It's why it's in trouble today, and the trouble isn't going to go away. It's only going to get worse. It's never going to go away. So in 1933, they set up the Social Security system. Now, what was the purpose behind Social Security in 1933? We were 3 years into the Depression after the crash of 29 of the stock market. And we were in a depression. I mean, the unemployment rate was 25% was the unemployment rate during the 1930s. So Roosevelt had to come up with a way to create jobs for younger people because the older folks, the chronologically gifted folks, they were working in their jobs. So Social Security was created to provide a stipend to somebody that was more chronologically gifted so that they would let go of their job and the job would be available for a younger person. That was what was behind the idea of Social Security. It wasn't some grand idea. And even over the years after that, it was always taught in financial planning or financial advising. You had a three-legged stool at retirement. 1/3 of that retirement money came from Social Security. 1/3 came from a company pension of some kind. And the third came from your savings. And what do we have today? We have so many people today, they get to retirement and they have no money. They don't have enough money to live out their life. Social Security is their primary retirement plan. But life expectancy in 1933 was age 59. Okay? You're starting to get the idea? And here we are today in 2024, and life expectancy for males, if you're looking at a healthy man and woman at age 65, their life expectancy is age 84 for the male, 87 for the female. Well, wait a minute. So you're going to go on Social Security at age 65 or 67 and maybe be on it more years than you worked. That don't work. It's just mathematically improbable that it can work. We're going to go there, and we're going to welcome Don Buddy after 10 o'clock, after the news. So we'll see you in a few minutes. God bless, and we'll be back to talk some more.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their 2 for $5 sausage egg McMuffin. Whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's breakfast. I'm loving it.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76
Looking
years.
for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect partly sunny skies today with a high of about 72 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Today is the day. PennDOT is reminding motorists that the long-term closure of the Rochester-Monaca Bridge is set to begin as early as noon, and it will continue through Tuesday, August 20th. The start of the closure is dependent on the intersection work at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue and could begin later depending on when the work is completed. Crews will be conducting expansion dam joint replacements, zone painting, concrete deck overlays, steel concrete sidewalk barrier and fence repair work, along with other miscellaneous construction activities. Traffic will be detoured. We have received a report of a shooting that took place in Beaver Falls early this morning. A neighbor of the incident told Beaver County Radio that 16 shell casings were found in his yard. We are currently awaiting a statement from the Beaver Falls Police. Mike Tomlin is not leaving Pittsburgh anytime soon. The Steelers have signed Tomlin to a 3-year extension that will carry through at least the 2027 season. Tomlin was about to enter the final year of the deal he agreed to in April of 2021. The 52-year-old is 173, 102, including a Super Bowl victory since taking over for Hall of Famer Bill Cowher in 2007. Tomlin has yet to endure a losing season, and despite speculation late last season that he was considering taking time off, he remains intent on trying to help the Steelers stay in the mix in a highly competitive AFC. As the summer vacation season is getting underway, gasoline prices have continued a downward trend, falling 9 cents since last week to $3.44. It marks the largest weekly drop-off of the year. Tepid gasoline demand, increasing supply, and lower oil costs are contributing to the drop in gas prices. Today's national average is 19 cents less than a month ago and 18 cents less than a year ago. The price you can expect to pay for a gallon of gas here in Beaver County is $3.88. A Democratic-sponsored proposal to boost public school funding by billions in the coming years and impose stricter rules on cyber charter schools is on its way to the Pennsylvania Senate after passage in the State House. 5 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving the bill Monday. The measure passed 107 to 94. The bill is a response to a report issued in January that said Pennsylvania underfunds public school districts by more than $5 billion annually. The proposed legislation would set up a new formula to distribute state education aid, but does not include an appropriation of the money to fund it. Pennsylvania State Senate is advancing legislation to outlaw the distribution of salacious or pornographic deepfakes, with sponsors saying it will eliminate a loophole in the law that had frustrated prosecutors. The bill was approved unanimously Monday and was sent to the House. It comes as states are working to update their laws. Under the bill, one provision would be to make it a crime to harass someone by distributing a deepfake image of them without their consent. The offense would be more serious if the victim is a minor. And the main shipping channel into Baltimore's port has fully reopened to its original depth and width following the March 26th collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The channel was blocked to most maritime traffic for several weeks while crews worked to remove an estimated 50,000 tons of steel and concrete from the river. On May 20th, the wayward cargo ship Dolly was refloated and guided back to port. The ship lost power and crashed into the bridge shortly after leaving Baltimore for Sri Lanka. 6 members of a roadwork crew were killed in the collapse.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A lovely day in store for us with mostly sunny skies and mild temperatures with a high near 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, will drop down to a low around 51. More sunshine tomorrow, a bit warmer with a high near 80 and an overnight low of 58. More sunshine in the forecast for Thursday. A big jump in temperature, look for a high near 88. And mostly sunny on Friday with a chance of showers and thunderstorms through the early part of the day. A high near 83 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024. At 9 minutes past 10, we've got temperature of 60 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Hey, I'm back. I'm still here, and we'll be here again another day tomorrow. I have right now one of the most special guests in my life. I have known this gentleman for 40 years. He is the key mentor in my life and has helped me grow up and become a businessman in more ways than I can explain. And I can't thank you enough, Don. Welcome to my short-term radio show that I can talk about what I want, and today's subject is really about healing people financially and why haven't they found the truth. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing excellent. It's great to be with you again, and great to hear your voice.
Same here. You know, I hope everything is behind you from that terrible COVID experience you had a year or so ago, and you got your health back and everything. So,
yeah, everything is good. God sent the bus by, but he didn't stop at my place, so I survived that.
Cool.
So we're doing great.
We're an AM/FM radio station in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, and we're broadcasting live internationally on Facebook right now on theirs, and I have my Facebook page up and live. Tell me a little bit about your background, Don, from where you started and here you are today.
Well, as you know, I got in the business as a younger man, and the thing that got me was over the years. You know, you've got to always be polishing your career and your skills, and studied with guys like you over the years, and iron sharpens iron, and you make sure that you want to learn from the best and people that have been before you. So I've done that, and it was, I taught high school for many years, and I was a biology major, but I got into financial services, and I got in like everybody else. You know, they sell products, and that was really the focus. But it didn't take me long to understand that, the product is really not the answer. There's something deeper that we need to understand about money and how money works before we can, ever talk about buying something to put our money in and making sure that, all our money is doing all it can do. Because let's face it, it's my English professor used to say every class it was life is hard, and unfortunately that's true. Life is hard. There's a lot of things you have to know, and we really have a short time here on Earth. But learning from others that can help you can help speed that learning process along. So I've been training advisors for 20 something years, and I'd gotten to the place where I built one tool, and it's called the Personal Economic Model, which allows you to see and explain every financial product, strategy, or concept all on one page. It's a picture, and people respond well to a picture. They can see it, and they can understand the flow of their money, and that was a home run. But what really propelled that was, as I'm talking to these advisors, what do they really need to know to help this person? So in the financial services world, as you know, it's a lot about selling the product, but until the client really understands what and why they should have that particular product, it's of little value. So I'm over COVID. You mentioned COVID. I was sitting on my couch and nowhere to go. We were all shut down, and I decided that who really needed to, besides advisors, who really needs to know these financial truths, so to speak, and how money actually works, is the general public. And I was a general public for a long time, and I never heard any of these. And had I known them sooner, it would have made a big difference. So I'd already trained thousands of advisors, and I had a system to be able to do that. So I sat on my couch and created a curriculum for high school, college kids, and just self-study, anybody on personal finance. And that's called the PIM Life. PIM stands for the Personal Economic Model, which is the picture I told you about. And LIFE stands for Lessons in Financial Efficiency. And really, that's what life is all about. It's, the more efficient you can be in every area, the better you're going to do. So I was, I finished that. I put in, I think there's actually 15 core units with 64 total lessons in that group. It's very easy to get through, very easy to understand. And I sent that to a professor at Florida State University, and I didn't know him. A friend of mine knew him and said, "Hey, you ought to send your book to him," which is the Personal Economic Model. And I did, and he called me back. He said, I read this cover to cover. He said, "This is the best thing I've ever read on personal finance." Well, and Tom, you know me, so that was kind of like, okay, the best thing, huh? Wow. That took me back a little bit. I was a little bit shocked about that, but it's amazing how little that we're taught in school. When I look at my career and going through high school, certainly not much there, and then college, and I didn't learn anything about finance. So I'm on a couple boards of schools, and I told them, I said, well, it's for a person to go through school, to go through college, and not learn how to manage the resources that they're going to earn over their lifetime it's an incomplete education. But we have our education system the way it's set up, and they don't even talk about any of this. They just talk about what it takes to do that particular job, whether you're a dentist or doctor or lawyer, whatever it is, whatever your degree is, but never mention anything about finance. And if you take finance, it's really more analytical than it is educational. So day-to-day life, and that's where we all live. So that's how I got there, and it's been going great, and we're excited to be impacting college students. I get to go speak at Florida State every semester to the new group, and 400 or 500 of them, and I enjoy that. And it's just interesting to see how the light comes on through that curriculum. And Dr. Calhoun, that's all he teaches. He threw all the books away, the economic books, and that's all he teaches is the personal economic model. And he says it's been the greatest thing that's ever helped him in his career, and it's just been an eye-opener for students. So they love it.
It has been amazing. And as I alluded to you, I mean, my entire informational marketing plan, whatever I want to call it, all now centers around PIM and PIM Life. Because what better way could I, as an advisor, with your coaching that I've had all these years, and I'm so appreciative. And I remember when I met you. I mean, I was in that other system, and you showed up at it's the story. You and I have links that go way back almost 40 years at this point in time.
Yeah, that's great.
And I have people that come in, and they're engineers. They got MBAs. I mean, I have a dozen MBAs that are clients And after I went through the process that we go through to teach them the truth about finance and how you really do this stuff that is effective and efficient, that they say, why didn't they show me this in college? And I said, well, it's simple. I said, first off, they don't want you to know, because the financial world, they have 4 rules. I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, give back as little as possible. And that makes their balance sheet look the best and makes them the most amount of money. But over the years, in the beginning, and I go back 49 years, we both go back a long, long way at this business. And I'm befuddled that educated people, and I didn't go to formal college. I went to a community college. I wanted to be a police officer, so I have a 2-year associate's degree in criminal justice. The best program, or the best class I took was interview and interrogation. But that was it. And I would meet people that had all this education, and they really didn't know. And in the beginning, from my career, I was searching. You were an answer to a prayer when I met you. And I really got involved with what you're doing, and I left the other system behind. And that was because, we won't go into that, but that was because the guy that created it, he wasn't a servant to God and the people as you are. And I'm so appreciative.
Well, I appreciate that.
So appreciative to know you.
That's what it's all about. It's serving the people and the customer. It's one thing that, there's nothing wrong with sales, that you sell a product, but there's a whole lot of difference in service versus sales. Service is when you're looking across the table, especially what you and I do. Somebody's sitting there telling us their entire financial picture, and we look at that. We're not looking at that to see how we can make some money. No, through the Circle of Wealth system and the private reserve and all those tools that we have available. Our main focus is to see, just like a doctor would, and look at the entire situation and go, how do I help this person the most? And that's what changed my career, and I've had a wonderful life doing just that. Never really, we all have to get paid to eat, right?
And you got to pay to sleep too, right?
Yeah, but it's about service, and there's a difference between selling and service, especially in the financial world. So buyer beware there too. But Tom, one thing I would like to share with everybody was, that my teacher said that life is hard. There's a phase, and I don't have time to go through it, but we all kind of start off the same as spenders. We get paid and we spend it, right? We spend everything we make, and unfortunately, maybe some of our parents helped us with that because they let us spend every dollar till we got out. But you get out, by the time you get out of college, let's say you're 25, we don't have anything, and we get a job, and now what? Well, we might go 10 or 15 years before we even start saving anything. So it takes time to get there, to be a saver. And a saver is one thing, but it's just how much should we be saving? And the next step is, once you become a saver, if you're not careful, you can end up spending that money before you get to retirement. And when I say saver, I'm talking about looking long term. And a wealth creator is someone who understands the 4 most important financial questions that we all face. And Tom, I know you use those too.
Yep.
In the financial GPS. And those questions, I ask every single person, do you know the answer to the 4 most important financial questions? And they go, well, what are they? The first one is, do you know what rate of return you have to earn, doing what you're doing today, to live in the future like you live now, adjusted for inflation, and still have enough money to last your life expectancy? Do you know the answer? And everybody responds, no. Well, I ask them, well, would you like to know? Well, everybody says, well, certainly, who wouldn't? The second question, do you know how much you should be saving on a monthly or annual basis to make sure you're setting enough aside to be able to live in the future like you live now? No, don't know that one either. I'd love to know that one. The third one, do you have any idea how long you're going to have to work before you can stop? No, don't know that. And then 4, do you have any idea how much you're going to have to reduce your future standard of living if you don't start doing something different than you're doing today? So there's the 4 questions. And the financial GPS tool that we built is amazing because it helps you answer those questions. And that's once you see where you're at, it's like that on the GPS on your phone. You can drive anywhere you want to go, but you're not going to get to your destination unless you're on track. So, but that certainly has been a game changer for lots of our young people to help them understand, okay, I got to get serious about my future now. So the sooner you get on board with that, you don't want to wait till you're in your 40s or early 50s to start saving for the future, because it takes a lot to get there to be able to live in the future like you live now.
It's crazy when I meet people and I sit down and sometimes I feel bad. We sit down and show them what they would really need to save to be able to maintain their lifestyle. And I find sometimes people get discouraged and mentally they leave. And so I have struggled for a lot of years of how do I bring this person to a level of belief that this truly can happen. In other words, these numbers are so big, how could I ever save that much money and going forward? And I have struggled with that, and continued my education in human nature and trying to help understand people, and I do personality assessments with clients to try to help them increase their belief first in themselves, because I think people struggle with, they look at what we're telling them and what we're showing them, and I'm not worthy. I couldn't do that. How do you handle that? I know you experienced some of that same stuff. How do you handle that?
Well, one of my favorite saying is that what one can do, another can do, and it's. I think that was in a great movie, but it wasn't mine. But yeah, you're right. It's if you don't get started, you're never going to get there for sure. And then, some people, like you say, they're discouraged because they're so far behind. But, hey, you still need to get going. You do all you can. It's somebody told me one time about the guy, he went to prison and they gave him a life sentence. And he says, well, I don't think I can do it that long. And the warden said, well, you just do as much as you can. So, just do as much as you can. But without proper knowledge, that has a big impact on what you actually do. Because you want to make sure that you're as efficient as you possibly can be. And there's basically 5 areas where we help people avoid losing money unnecessarily.
Don, I hate to stop you. I got a hard break. And I would love, will you come back after the news? We got about 8-minute delay here, and I want to come back and talk about the 5 things. Can you do that?
Be glad to.
All right, sir. We'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, Don.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You're listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024. We can expect a high of about 72 degrees today with partly sunny skies all day long. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. PennDOT is reminding motorists that today is the day. That's the day of the long-term closure starting on the Rochester-Monaca Bridge, which carries 18 over the Ohio River. It's set to begin as early as noon, and it will continue through Tuesday, August 20th. The start of the closure is dependent on the intersection work taking place at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, and it could begin later depending on when that work is completed. Traffic will be detoured, and drivers are told to be aware of the changing traffic patterns. We have received a report of a shooting that took place in Beaver Falls early this morning. A neighbor of the incident told Beaver County Radio 16 shell casings were found in his yard by police. We are currently awaiting a statement from the Beaver Falls Police Department. Mike Tomlin will be staying in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have signed Tomlin to a 3-year extension that will carry through at least the 2027 season. Tomlin was about to enter the final year of the deal he agreed to in April of 2021. The 52-year-old is 173-102, including a Super Bowl victory, since taking over for Hall of Famer Bill Cowher in 2007. Tomlin hasn't had a losing season yet, and despite speculation that he would take some time off, he remains trying to help the Steelers stay in the mix in a highly competitive AFC. As the summer vacation season gets underway, gasoline prices continue their downward trend, falling 9 cents since last week to $3.44. It marks the largest weekly drop of the year. Tepid gas demand, increasing supply, and lower oil costs are contributing to the drop in gas prices. Today's national average is 19 cents less than a month ago and 18 cents less than a year ago. The price you can expect to pay when pulling up to the pump here in Beaver County is an average of $3.88 for regular gas. A Democratic-sponsored proposal to boost public school funding by billions in the coming years and impose stricter rules on cyber charter schools is on its way to the Pennsylvania Senate after passage in the state House. 5 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving the bill on Monday. The measure passed 107-94. The bill is a response to a report issued in January that said Pennsylvania underfunds public school districts by more than $5 billion annually. The proposed legislation would set up a new formula to distribute state education aid, but does not include an appropriation of the money to fund it. And Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, treated at a hospital for a bruised shoulder after he was in a car accident Sunday morning, according to a statement from his Senate office. He was released from the hospital Sunday afternoon. The statement said Fetterman and his wife Giselle were involved in a car accident with another vehicle. They were both evaluated at a local hospital and discharged within hours. The senator returned to his home in Braddock and is expected to be back in the Senate for votes this week. A spokeswoman for Fetterman said that the senator was driving the car at the time of the accident, and it took place on Interstate 70 in Maryland.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A lovely day in store for us with mostly sunny skies and mild temperatures with a high near 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, will drop down to a low around 51. More sunshine tomorrow, a bit warmer with a high near 80 and an overnight low of 58. More sunshine in the forecast for Thursday, a big jump in temperature, look for a high near 88. And mostly sunny on Friday with a chance of showers and thunderstorms through the early part of the day. A high near 83 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024, at 34 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 61 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
Hey, we're back. And Don Blanton. You still there, buddy?
I am.
Now you were going to start talking about 5 things before we cut for the news, so please continue.
Okay, there's basically 5 areas where people lose money unknowingly and unnecessarily. And these are major, I call them, these are major areas. There's lots of little things that people can do, but the first is your housing, how you pay for housing. That's probably, no doubt, our biggest expense, for sure. People ask me all the time, they go, well, do you, how much should I be saving? Well, I like to ask them and say, well, tell me what your mortgage payment is. And they may say, $2,500 or $4,000, whatever it is. And I go, well, let me ask you this: are you saving as much or more than your mortgage payment every month? They go, well, no, I couldn't live in that house if I could save that much money. And there's an issue right there. It's kind of, and I call it kind of a lifestyle feeling. When we need to really begin to understand, what expenses are, how they act with us. We've got taxes we got to pay for right off the bat, 20-25%, and then they'll loan you 40% of your gross income for you to put towards a mortgage. Well, that's 60% of your wealth right there gone. So being able to handle all these other things is quite an effort. And the problem with a mortgage is once you get into that, if you're hoping that you're going to make some more later, most of the time, but that's a long-term commitment, and you need to have a long-term commitment with putting away enough for your future to live in the future like you live now also. So just knowing that number can help. The second one is, of course, taxes. The tax law says you have to pay every dollar required, but no more. And that's a good thing. But if you pay more, the government is glad to take it. So being tax efficient is important. So keep that in mind too. Another one is how you fund your qualified plans. Well, there's no bad place to put your money. It's just some places are better at different times than others. But qualified plan, if you have if you're at work and you have a 401k and you get a match, you should do it. But it's interesting that you probably can't put enough in a 401k for you to live in the future like you live now, adjusted for inflation, and have enough to last your life expectancy. You can't do it. The government has kind of limited how much of that you put in there. If you're not getting a match, well, that leads to another issue. Is not that it's bad to put money in that account, but one of the things is you don't have any access to capital. So access to capital is probably the number one cause of financial stress in your life. When you get to the place where you have no more access, there's nowhere to go. You've swiped your credit card enough, and they won't let you swipe that anymore. Or you go to the bank, and no, they won't loan you any money. That's a tough position to be in, and I hate to say it, but it looks like the statistics are most of America, 65% is in that category or on their way to it. So that's important to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you have access to capital, because when you have to borrow, now pay attention on this one. Everybody borrows, everybody. But when you borrow, you're borrowing from your future. And very few people understand that, because it takes future earnings to be able to put back that money and pay for it. And not only are you going to put it back, but you got to put back the interest you lost, which is opportunity cost. And Tom, I know you teach your folks that as well. So that's extremely important. And then, of course, education. If you have children, that's a huge expense. A lot of people see that as it is an investment in your children, but it's an expense to you because that money is not going to be in an account for you to be able to solve your future lifestyle issues too during your retirement years. And then the last one I call major capital purchases. And what is a major capital purchase? Well, here's an easy way for you to remember. It's anything you can't afford to pay for in full with your monthly cash flow. You can't pay in full with monthly cash flow. That means when you get your check after tax, at the end of the month, well, you don't have enough money to pay for it. Well, that's a major capital purchase. Now you have to borrow. And like I said, everybody borrows. You either borrow from a lender and pay them interest, or you drain a tank that you have money in, account that you have money in, and you pay that back. But very few people do that. But I've never met anyone that puts back the money they borrowed from their own account and put back the interest they lost while they had the money out of the account. So if I have my money in the bank and they're paying me 4%, if I take it out of the bank and buy something, well, now I have something. But it cost me what? It cost me not only what I took out, but 4%. But they don't put that back in their account. So they try to get back to where they were over time, and unfortunately that doesn't happen. So there's the 5 areas of wealth transfer. And I'll give you one more thing called, because people misunderstand what debt is. And here's my definition. Debt is a financial obligation in which the only way you can repay is from money you've yet to earn. So I've never felt in debt one day on my house. Why? Because my house is always worth more than I owe. But to solve that, I might have to sell my house to pay off the loan, and then I have a housing problem again. How am I going to solve that problem? Car loans. A car, we got to have a car. Transportation is required to live in America and work anymore. So, okay, I have a car. Well, how much am I in debt for on a car? So if you went and bought a $40,000 car and you drive it off the lot and you couldn't sell it for $35,000, how much are you in debt for it? Well, $5,000, not $40,000, because the car still has value, and that's why they will loan you money and do that. But the problem is when you don't have any money, you don't have any resource whatsoever that you can get. And that's one of the problems I have with a 401k. It's not a bad place for your money, but it causes people, because they don't have access to that, don't have the discipline to put it back, it causes them to go swipe that credit card and they can get caught paying exorbitant amounts of interest, 18 to 21 or 22%. So those are just a few things as when I look at somebody's finances, those are some of the areas that I'm looking for to make sure to see. I like to call it my vital signs, Tom. So if you were in an accident and you can't talk and they wheel you into the hospital, you got all kind of things going on, what do? Well, they just take your vital signs. What's your oxygen level? What's your blood pressure? All those things. And that's what we're doing financially with people to help them. Hey, we need the vital signs before we can give you any good information to help you.
You're amazing. I want to thank you so much. I know your time's valuable, and you got another call here shortly in a little while. And Don, buddy, I don't know how to thank you in any way, shape, or form. I do want you to do me a favor. You sent my email. Send me your mailing address, because I have a gift I want to send you. Okay? Can you do that? Send me your mailing address so I can send you something. But
that'd be great.
I want to thank you.
Coming to see you.
I'm sorry.
I even did a meeting at your place. You remember that years ago?
Yeah. Well, that was, that's a story. That was that guy in Pittsburgh that had an agency when I had lost my way for a while, and I was working with this guy in Pittsburgh. And that was after you had started to create Circle. And you came there and you did a flip chart. Do you remember that? And
yeah.
And you did that flip chart, and I'm going to admit to you, I went home, and in my photographic memory, I duplicated that presentation, the Circle Talk that you did that day. And that was the beginning of when I actually started to learn that Circle Talk.
Well,
I'm
honored, and thanks for having me on the call, and God bless everybody that's listening.
All right, Don. God bless. Take care, man. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Wow. What a gem.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
For the 14th year, Eyes in Beaver County will turn to the skies on Saturday, June the 29th for Push Beaver County's Beaver County Boom. Beaver County Boom is presented by Visit Beaver County, and it's bigger and better than ever. There will be skydivers, and an Air Heritage vintage military airplane will fly over, followed by the star of the show, Beaver County Boom, at 9:45. It all takes place over the Ohio River between Monaca and Rochester. Bring your radio along or listen on your smart device to the Falcones Moon Township Ford live broadcast on Beaver County Radio beginning at 6. Title presenter sponsor of Beaver County Boom is Visit Beaver County. Gold sponsors include Temco Industries and Zambelli Fireworks. Silver sponsors include AK Nahas Furniture and Appliances, the Borough of Beaver, the Borough of Monaca, Brentwood Bank, Clearview Credit Union, and Fort McIntosh Foundation, among others. Don't miss out on Beaver County Boom, Saturday, June the 29th, right here on Beaver County Radio.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Body shop, and I bought a garage. So I had this $25,000 mortgage on this building, and I wanted to protect my family, my wife. So we called up our local insurance agent who lived in Pittsburgh. I'm in Beaver County. And this guy his name was Max, and he was the family insurance agent of my wife's family, her father and that. And that's when my father-in-law died, we realized he had a $2,000 insurance policy. So I don't know how this guy could have ever been called the family insurance agent. Because my father-in-law never bought any insurance from him but a couple $1,000 policy. But he came to me, and I had a policy that was a family policy on my wife and children if we had children, and we had found out was probably not possible we were going to have children, and it was 1,000,001 chance we were ever going to have children. So I had the agent, and I'm telling him, look, I don't want a policy with family benefits. I don't want to pay extra. I want to have the most death benefit I can have for what we're paying. He alluded to me that I couldn't own more than one insurance policy. So this older policy that was several years old, he alluded, well, we're going to replace that one with a new policy, and he wanted me to pay the premium on the old policy for 3 more months. He says, but you don't have to pay it. The money is already in the policy, so it's not going to cost you anything. And that was his comment. He says, if you drop that policy, I'm getting ready to retire. And if that policy doesn't make it at least 3 more months, then they're gonna nick my retirement. So far be it for me to want to hurt somebody's retirement plan. Wasn't going to cost me any money, so he said. So we went ahead with it. Replaced the policy. I got a new policy. Several months later, I get a phone call one evening at home, and this gentleman introduces himself, and he says, look, I'm an investigator for Prudential Insurance Company. Nothing wrong. He says, we just periodically follow up with people that buy a new policy and within a few months drop an older policy. Well, what I later learned was if somebody buys a new insurance policy and either 3 months before or 3 months after they drop an older policy, it becomes referred to as a replacement. And because it was a Prudential policy and a new Prudential policy, he wouldn't have got any commissions. So because of that, that's why he needed me to pay that premium for 3 more months. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got any commissions. So I told this investigator the retirement story the agent told me. And he said, Mr. Young, I think we need to get together. So he came and sat down. We went through it all. And the company reversed everything, gave me my money back because he actually stole my cash value that I had in the policy to pay those premiums. So he used my money that was cash value in the policy to pay the premium for 3 months before the policy would lapse and so forth. So the next thing I know, a few weeks later, there's a guy sitting at my kitchen table named Don Workley. And we're talking, and he said, you'd be good at this. Now, I was an auto mechanic. I didn't even have dress pants and dress shirts, none of that. And at that time, I had sold the garage. I was working in Beglan Ford in Bridgewater as the automatic transmission man. So I was rebuilding transmissions at the Ford dealership as a mechanic there. So it's January. And you can imagine working under a car. You ever see orange transmission juice that's sort of reddish? And I was about 250 pounds in weight. I was a big guy. And I had this big, burly, plaid tan coat, and it had red blotches on it from cold and being under the car and the transmission juice dropping on me. And that was how I looked when I went to the Prudential office for my interview. And I've told this story. I told this story at other meetings after the fact, and other managers said, we wouldn't even have talked to you. I said, I guess that would have been your loss, wouldn't it? So I that was how I got started, and it was just, and to me, it was an opportunity of a lifetime. And I would work harder than everybody else, and I did. I made more sales than everybody else, and I did. First year, I was the number 1 agent in the office. They made me a sales manager. I went from 88 out of 95 staffs that I managed to, 11th or 12th in the region. Had won all kinds of awards, and at the end of the year, I realized how much money I made for the other 7 people that were on that staff that I managed. And if I worked, they were out with me. But if I didn't go out, they didn't go out and work. They didn't want what I wanted. And so after a year, I resigned that position, went back to being an agent, and that year that I was an agent, I ended up 86th in the Prudential rankings out of 24,000 agents. And at the end of the year, I looked at that. Well, that was great. But I looked at what I made, and it really wasn't a lot of money to be at that ranking. And that was when I decided that I couldn't do for me what they were teaching me to do for you. And therefore, it became an ethical thing in my mind. I couldn't do it anymore. So I left Prudential, and that was when I started my own agency. And that was in 1970 when I went on my own. And then we incorporated, and for a number of years, I was going to do more than anybody else. I was going to learn more. I took courses. That's when I started the college courses and everything. I just wanted to be the best that I could be at what I was doing. And it was in 1989, 88, maybe it was 90. I got a knock on my door on Saturday morning, and it was the sheriff serving me papers for an $800,000 lawsuit. And this come out of the blue, and all of the charges were criminal, theft, RICO Act, fraud, et cetera, and unexperienced, uneducated, no friend, nobody to talk to. I was lost. It was like a knife in my heart, And so that went on and started. I called my professional insurance company, and they said, these charges are all criminal, so we don't cover criminal, so you're on your own, buddy. So I contacted an attorney in Pittsburgh, and he took the case. I had to put up a $5,000 retainer fee. And so he went after the E&O company, and they eventually took the case. Long story short, folks, I'm not the crook, fraud, or whatever. After about 3.5 years, there was a deposition. And in the deposition, my CPA had a son that worked for him that didn't even have a college degree. And he held himself out as he was the guy that could save you taxes on your tax return. The client was a 35-year-old single guy from Steubenville that had 6 or 8 rental properties, and I mean, he was just, and everything that he did was about avoiding taxes, etc. And so he was referred to me by this CPA's son, and they were doing some crazy things. They put him in a tax shelter that he didn't qualify to be in on December 31st of a year, which is unheard of. And the broker was from Philadelphia, not local. And so it was all about fraudulently avoiding taxes, and that's what this young kid was doing. But at the deposition, all of this came out. And a week later, I got a letter releasing me from the lawsuit. So they went after the CPA and his son for what they were doing. But that was 3.5 years of my life that I didn't know what the result was going to be. And it was pretty tense because I had a lot of life insurance, and I was starting to believe that the life insurance death benefit would have been better for my wife and my daughter than me because of the mess that I created, that I believed I had created. It was a dark time in my life. It was a time when I really plugged in and found out what the Lord was all about in my life. And here I am. So it turned around, and I met a gentleman in the Amway business, Jody Victor. I don't know if any of you ever heard of this guy, but his parents were 2 of the 9 original people that started Amway. And I went to an Amway meeting, and I met this guy, and eventually I told him what was going on. He said, do you want to quit or do you want to fix it? And I says, well, I don't want to quit. And he says, well, I'll help you fix it. And with his coaching and mentorship, teaching me how to be a businessman, that was the turnaround. And that's the story, folks. But in all of that stuff, I have learned so much experience that I just believe that I can help people beyond their beliefs. Because I'm not just the financial planner down the street. I have a very unique approach to what I do. And that's not going to change. And my mission is to help you become successful, enjoy life, and be as efficient as you can, because that's the only way you're going to end up being able to save enough money. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after the news for the final hour today. God bless.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
For the 14th year, Eyes in Beaver County will turn to the skies on Saturday, June the 29th for Push Beaver County's Beaver County Boom. Beaver County Boom is presented by Visit Beaver County, and it's bigger and better than ever. There will be skydivers, and an Air Heritage vintage military airplane will fly over, followed by the star of the show, Beaver County Boom, at 9:45. It all takes place over the Ohio River between Monaca and Rochester. Bring your radio along or listen on your smart device to the Falcones Moon Township Ford live broadcast on Beaver County Radio beginning at 6. Title presenter sponsor of Beaver County Boom is Visit Beaver County. Gold sponsors include Temco Industries and Zambelli Fireworks. Silver sponsors include AK Nahas Furniture and Appliances, the Borough of Beaver, the Borough of Monaca, Brentwood Bank, Clearview Credit Union, and Fort McIntosh Foundation, among others. Don't miss out on Beaver County Boom, Saturday, June the 29th, right here on Beaver County Radio.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024. We can expect some sunshine today with clouds and a high of about 72 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Today is the day that the long-term closure of the Rochester-Monaca Bridge is set to take place. They're anticipating on closing the bridge to all vehicular traffic as early as noon, and that closure will last continuously through Tuesday, August 20th. The start of the closure is dependent on the intersection work at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, and it could begin later in the day depending on when that work is completed. Crews will be conducting expansion dam joint replacements, zone painting, concrete deck overlays, steel concrete sidewalk barrier and fence repair work, as well as other miscellaneous construction activities, and traffic will be detoured. We received a report this morning of a shooting that took place in Beaver Falls. The shooting was said to have taken place early this morning. A neighbor of the incident told Beaver County Radio that 16 shell casings were found in his yard. We are currently awaiting a statement from the Beaver Falls Police Department. Mike Tomlin will be staying in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have signed Mike Tomlin to a 3-year extension that will carry through at least the 2027 season. Tomlin was about to enter the final year of the deal he agreed to in April 2021. The 52-year-old Tomlin is 102 with a Super Bowl victory. And that's since he took over for Hall of Famer Bill Cowher in 2007. Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, and despite speculation that he was considering taking some time off, he remains intent on trying to help the Steelers stay in the mix in a highly competitive AFC. A Democratic-sponsored proposal to boost public school funding by billions in the coming years and impose stricter rules on cyber charter schools is on its way to the Senate after passage of the House. 5 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving the bill Monday. The measure passed 107-94. The bill is a response to a report issued in January that said Pennsylvania underfunds public school districts by more than $5 billion annually. The proposed legislation would set up a new formula to distribute state education aid, but does not include an appropriation of the money to fund it. And as the summer vacation season is getting underway, gasoline prices continue their downward trend, falling 9 cents since last week to $3.44. It marks the largest weekly drop of the year so far. Gasoline demand, increasing supply, and lower oil costs are contributing to the drop in prices. Today's national average is 19 cents less than a month ago, but 18 cents less than a year ago. Those pulling up to the pump here in Beaver County can expect to pay an average of $3.88 per gallon of regular fuel. Senator John Fetterman was treated at a hospital for a bruised shoulder after a car accident Sunday morning. The statement said Fetterman and his wife Giselle were involved in an accident with another driver. They were both evaluated at a local hospital and discharged within hours. The senator returned to his home in Braddock and is expected to be back in the Senate for votes this week. And the main shipping channel into Baltimore's port has fully reopened to its original depth and width following the March 26th collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The channel was blocked to most maritime traffic for several weeks while crews worked to remove an estimated 50,000 tons of steel and concrete from the river. On May 20th, the wayward cargo ship Dolly was refloated and guided back to port. The ship lost power and crashed into the bridge shortly after leaving Baltimore for Sri Lanka. 6 members of a roadwork crew were killed in the collapse.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A lovely day in store for us with mostly sunny skies and mild temperatures with a high near 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, will drop down to a low around 51. More sunshine tomorrow, a bit warmer with a high near 80 and an overnight low of 58. More sunshine in the forecast for Thursday, a big jump in temperature, look for a high near 88. And mostly sunny on Friday with a chance of showers and thunderstorms through the early part of the day. A high near 83 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024, at 9 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 63 degrees with partly cloudy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Eddie Crow. I'm not Eddie Crow. We love Eddie. I love his hosting my show when I'm here for my show. He will be back next week. But we're here today to have some fun. I'm Tom Young, and I'm just, pouring my heart out here, trying to help you find the max efficiency, to find the direction that you want to go. It's like, the stuff that I'm talking about is just information that it's not likely you're going to hear it from anybody else. You're not going to hear it from the financial planner and these other people, because they're all educated by the financial world in the way they do things. It's like being born in a black box. And I like this little story. Just imagine for a minute, your imagination, you're born and you're in a black box. Now, being in this black box inside, there is no light. So you could as well be blind. You don't know what blind is, but you live in an environment that is black. It's like being born at the bottom of a cave somewhere. There's no light. It's dark. It's black. You're in this box. And in time, your senses, just like we see blind people, how their other senses get stronger when they lose their sight, where they know where things are, they can reach out and they can grab something, even though they can't see it. They have these sensories in their body that allows them to adapt. So you're in this black box, and all of a sudden, there's a little white dot. Somebody outside the black box comes up, and they jam a pencil through the black box. And all of a sudden, this little pencil-sized hole, and it lets in light. What would your eyes react to that? Oh, it would be painful. You had never experienced light before. So it would be painful. And there you are inside this environment that has been totally black. And now this thing called light, I can see it coming in the hole. And all of a sudden, there's a finger in the hole, and it rips it open a little bit more. And all of a sudden, light comes on. Your eyes are almost burning. But then all of a sudden, your pupils adjust, and you start to be able to see things around you. The awakening. And I mean, I've seen medical where doctors restore somebody's eyesight or hearing that never had it before. And it's an indescribable experience. I couldn't describe the experience, but imagine what it would be like. And now all of a sudden, the hole gets bigger, the light is brighter, your eyes adjust, and all of a sudden you move over to the hole, and it doesn't hurt anymore, and you're looking out through the hole, and wow, you see trees and flowers and grass. And there's a deer standing there with a little fawn. And the world has now opened up to you that you didn't know existed before. Oh, and your mind saw, well, this ain't true. This is an imagination. You're not really seeing this stuff. That's not real out there. It's not what it is. And the hole gets bigger. And all of a sudden, you get the courage to step out. The hole is big enough now you can squeeze through the hole out into the real world, and the colors and the light and everything that you see, you are just totally blown away based on what you see. That's what the world is like. Will Rogers said it best. People, it's not so much what people know. It's what people know that just ain't so. And that's a famous saying that I have used for a long, long time. And Nelson Nash, one of my mentors in life, Nelson had some rules. And some of the rules that Nelson had, when you're looking at life, there's 5 simple rules. Think long range. And we have almost given up on that. We live our lives today, and we no longer think long term. You know, it's why don't people do retirement planning? Why don't people save money? Because they don't know what their losses are going to be. You know, over an average person's lifetime, the income they're going to make, they're going to make several $1 million is going to pass through your hands over your lifetime. And you get to retirement, and I have a paper here somewhere, and it says the average 65-year-old, the average, can't put their hands on between 50 and 100 grand. That's it. You're at 65. Now we're talking the average people. And when I say average, I mean, that leads me to the other story that I tell about the 95% of the people end up dead or dead broke. And that is a statistical story that through the Bureau of Labor and Statistics of the government, the Ivy League colleges years and years ago, decades ago, they took 125-year-olds and they interviewed them. And think when you were 25, or maybe you're 25 now, and what was your expectation? You saw great things in your life, hopefully. You were going to do this and you were going to do that. And things were going to be grand. You were going to change the world. And then all of a sudden, 40 years fly by. And I can attest to that at 74 years old because there it is. Right now it's June. The year of 2024 in a couple weeks will be half over. I have a hard time just comprehending that myself. I have a daughter that's 41 years old. I have a hard time comprehending that. But here you are, at 65, they go back to find you. And here are the statistics. Here is the results. 1 has become rich. 4 of them are still working. 4 of them are well off and doing good. They're doing good. They save money. 5 are still working because they can't afford to quit. Can't afford to quit. 36 have died. That's mortality. And 54 out of that 100 are dependent on other resources for their survival. They cannot make it 100% on their own. So I guess that means 95% of the people end up dead or dead broke. And I struggle every day when I meet people. Why? Why is that happening? You know, the phone lines are open. 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. You know, if you got a thought or an idea and you want to share it, you know, give us a call. And we're going to open the lines up more tomorrow. But maybe you can help me in my quest to help people at my maximum ability. How can I be more efficient at what I do to help more people? And I've always believed that if people knew what I knew and how I could help them find a more efficient pathway to some financial results, they should be lined up down my sidewalk in Beaver. My office is at 1413 3rd Street in Beaver. Phone number 724-728-6820. I don't charge any fee for my time, so I challenge you to come and sit with me for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll answer the questions that Dawn Buddy asked. You know, how much money do you have to save? How much interest do you have to earn? You know, when are you going to be able, when are you going to have enough to be able to retire and still have enough money to last you throughout your life expectancy with adjustments for inflation? Those are key questions that everybody needs to work on. Now, we talked about that, and the war that goes on in our lives is our current lifestyle. Well, I'll hear this. Well, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. No, that can't afford it is a wrong answer. I don't want to afford that. That's the decision, because if we all went to work tomorrow and you get a regular paycheck and there are no more jobs, here's your only job, and you go to work tomorrow and the boss says, look, the government has increased taxes and increased regulations, and the only way that we can stay in business and you keep your job is we got to cut your income by 20%. We're going to cut it by 20%. Would you not learn to live on 20% less? I mean, what did you make 10 years ago compared to today? I bet you made 20% less 10 years ago than you're making today. There's a thing that in some of the coaching, executive coaching I've been through, it's called the 10 times rule. In other words, how do you take where you're at today and develop a strategy in your life that will take you to 10 times? And I can look back in my career, in my life, after 49 years of being in the financial services business, that I have surpassed that 10 times rule twice over my lifetime. Because in the beginning, it was $15,000, $20,000 a year was the income that I made 49 years ago. And then there was a time when I made $50,000 a year. And there was a time when I made $100,000 a year, and I've gone above that. So I know that possibility exists. And I just don't think that the average person, this average person I'm talking about, is in their 6 inches between their ears, the most valuable real estate in the world. I just don't think that they have the ability. They have not grown themselves. In other words, I was saying personal growth is not optional. You either decide to grow you into being a better person tomorrow than you are today, and a better person the next day, and on and on and on, or the world will grow you into what they want you to be, and they will take everything and render you in the 95%. It was like the book I read, the book by Napoleon Hill, that was never published until he passed away, and his foundation published it, and you can buy it on Amazon. It's called An Interview with the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And what it was in the book, Napoleon Hill somehow related to Satan and tricked him into having an interview. And the rules of the interview that he has to answer all the questions honestly. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but there was one that made more sense to me than anything, and that was where he asked the devil, how many of our society, what percentage of the people do you actually control? And he said, it's easy, it's 98%. At 98%? He said, yeah, 98%. He says, in the beginning it was smoking behind the door, and then it was, drinking and promiscuity and I mean, all these little pleasures that I fed everybody a little bit at a time that has literally taken over their thinking. And if you don't believe me, folks, have you seen the transgender guys in kindergarten? I mean, you tell me where that is in your mind, and here it is today. So he's talking about this, and he says, okay, well, who are the ones you don't control? He says, 2 or 3% of the people that are people that they set goals. They work on themselves. They know where they're going somewhere. They're growing themselves. They read books. They learn how to be better than they were yesterday. In other words, they're searching. If they haven't found it, they're searching for their purpose in life. They're moving on. They're movers and shakers. He says, I can't influence them. They're just busy doing their thing to become the best that they can become. And that's what I challenge you, folks. That's really what we're all about, what my life is all about. With all of my experiences, somehow, how can I influence you to open a book, to take the next step? I wrote down the 3 books. I have 3 books that I read every year in January. Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. Schwartz. Those 3 books, and The Magic of Thinking Big is the foundation. Now, this book, in my mind, is the greatest personal growth, self-help book, short of the New Testament of the Bible, ever written for the purpose of helping you find the pathway to become more, to become better, to do more with your life. Because you see, folks, that's really what it's about. The first professional talk I gave, and those of you out there, if you ever look for a speaker, I do professional speaking for service organizations. I don't charge fees. That is part of my commitment that I make to service organizations. But my first professional talk was a talk I titled BTE, Be the Example. And you and I, every day of our lives, whether you know it or not, people are looking up to you. Your kids are watching you. I have 2 grandsons, and I'm just blown away sometimes how they try to mimic what I do and all of that kind of stuff. And here we are. But it's the biggest, highest responsibility that all of us have in our lives is to be the great example for others. And I don't see a lot of that in our society right now. The politicians are they are not the examples for the most part that I want to see. However, they influence everybody. You know, how are we influenced on the way we think and the way we do things is how we experience. Remember, the people we meet, the places we go, and the books we read, that has an impact on our perspective. And that perspective is the way we see things. However, we also have a perception. The perception is how we interpret, how we see these things, and what's going on. There are some basic principles of prosperity that I will talk about, and we're going to get into this in the second half hour because we're coming to the end of this segment, and that's about the principles of prosperity. How do I make me better? How do I achieve the goals, Tom, you're talking about? How do I do this? That's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to go to a break and go to the news, and we'll be back in a few minutes. God bless.
The place for news, sports, and entertainment. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, coming to you live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their 2 for $3 mix and match breakfast special. Whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's breakfast. I'm loving it.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Hiladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal Housing Lender, member NCUA.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024. We can expect partly sunny skies today with a high of about 72 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. If you're planning on crossing the Rochester-Monaca Bridge, you might want to head over there pretty quick because the long-term closure is set to happen as early as 12 o'clock noon today, and that closure will last through Tuesday, August 20th. The start of the closure is dependent on the work going on at the intersection of 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. The closure could be delayed slightly today, depending on when that work is completed. Crews will be conducting expansion dam joint replacements, zone painting, concrete deck overlay, steel concrete sidewalk barrier and fence repair work, along with other miscellaneous construction activities. Traffic will be detoured. We have received a report of a shooting that took place in Beaver Falls early this morning. A neighbor of the incident told Beaver County Radio 16 shell casings were found in his yard by police. We are currently awaiting a statement from the Beaver Falls Police Department for further details. Mike Tomlin will be staying in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have signed Tomlin to a 3-year extension that'll carry through at least the 2027 season. Tomlin was about to enter the final year of the deal he agreed to in April 2021. The 52-year-old is 173, 102, including a Super Bowl victory since he took over for Coach Bill Cowher in 2007. Tomlin has yet to endure a losing season, and despite speculation that he was considering taking time off, he remains intent on trying to help the Steelers stay in the mix in a highly competitive AFC. As the summer vacation season is getting underway, AAA East Central reports that gas prices continue a downward trend, falling 9 cents since last week to $3.44. It marks the largest weekly drop of the year. Tepid gas demand, increasing supply, and lower oil costs are contributing to the drop in price. Today's national average is clocking in at 19 cents less than a month ago and 18 cents less than a year ago. The current price you can expect to pay here in Beaver County is $3.88. A Democratic-sponsored proposal to boost public school funding by billions in the coming years and impose stricter rules on cyber charter schools is on its way to the Pennsylvania Senate after it passed the House. 5 Republicans joined all Democrats in approving the bill Monday. The measure passed 107 to 94. The bill is a response to a report issued in January that said Pennsylvania underfunds public school districts by more than $5 billion annually. The proposed legislation would set up a new formula to distribute state education aid, but does not include an appropriation of the money to fund it. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was being treated at a hospital for a bruised shoulder after he was in a car accident Sunday morning. He was released from the hospital Sunday afternoon. The statement said that Fetterman and his wife Giselle were involved in an accident that included another driver. They were both evaluated at a local hospital and were discharged within hours. The senator made a return to his home in Braddock and is expected to be back in the Senate for votes this week. And Pennsylvania's state Senate is advancing legislation to outlaw the distribution of salacious or pornographic deepfakes, with sponsors saying it will eliminate a loophole in the law that had frustrated prosecutors. The bill was approved unanimously Monday and was sent to the House. It comes as states are working to update their laws. Under the bill, one provision would make it a crime to harass someone by distributing a deepfake image of them without their consent. The offense would be considered more serious if the victim is a minor.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A lovely day in store for us with mostly sunny skies and mild temperatures with a high near 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, will drop down to a low around 51. More sunshine tomorrow, a bit warmer with a high near 80 and an overnight low of 58. More sunshine in the forecast for Thursday, a big jump in temperature, look for a high near 88. And mostly sunny on Friday with a chance of showers and thunderstorms through the early part of the day. A high near 83 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, June the 11th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of about 64 degrees with partly cloudy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
Hey, I'm still here, and today is Tuesday, the 11th of June. The year is almost half over. I have enjoyed my time here. We're down to the last half hour today, and I will be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get a little radical. You want to come back tomorrow and hear what I've got to talk about tomorrow, because we're going to talk a little about politics tomorrow. We're going to talk about the 2020 election and the proof that it was stolen, that the mainstream media, I'm so blessed. And unless I end up, then I'm not here tomorrow. You'll understand why. But I believe, in my opinion, I have seen and heard evidence that is irrefutable about the 2020 election and what has transpired since then. So we're going to talk about some of that tomorrow, and I'm going to put a cap on planning and how you move forward. Do you want to be more successful? The last segment we talked about that, and it's really about changing your mindset. The principles of prosperity that I teach people, and I'm going to go through some of them here. I've got a list, and the first one is thinking about prosperity. Prosperity mindset means opportunities and a fulfilling lifestyle versus poverty created by scarcity mindset. It's that simple. Thinking is your stewardship. The 6 inches between your ears has got to be protected. What you allow into your head, your mind starts to believe it. And I heard somebody say one time that they were interviewing, and I don't remember the show, but they asked this woman, do you watch soap operas during the day? Now, they're not, I don't think they're as big a thing today, but they're still there, and people that watch soap operas. So you watch these life events through these soap operas. Maybe it's the old form of reality TV before we have reality TV today. And you watch these events and things that go on in these people's minds. And there are people that they watch those every day. And so what you're doing is you're allowing this information into your head. And that is what Napoleon Hill talks about. And I'm going to talk about Think and Grow Rich, that book, in a minute, and talk about the table of contents of that book. But you allow this information into your head. And now, all of a sudden, sometime down the road in your life, you have a real life event, whether it's a relationship issue between you and your guy, you and your husband, you and your spouse, your wife, or whatever. And the only thing you have to draw on in your mind to help you work through this circumstance is this memory of what This show, see, your brain has no sense of humor. It only gathers and stores information that you see and hear and feel through your senses. And it stores that information in the brain, in your subconscious mind. Now, let me talk about the subconscious. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And in that, the last thing I want to hear is somebody will say to me, ask me a question, and I'll say, well, give me a minute, I'll think about it. And they'll look at me and say, you're having a senior moment, aren't you? We hear that a lot. Are you having a senior moment? I do not have senior moments. I will not allow that thought in my mind. You may, but it's a decision. Now, I'm 74 years old, and if I'm talking to a 24-year-old, and now think with me for a minute, the content in my subconscious mind compared to the content in the subconscious mind of a 24-year-old. I would think you would agree there's a difference, okay? So I mean, I have more capacity in my subconscious mind than the government, the Library of Congress. There's more information in there. From my childhood, I can remember 2-3 years old and a video in my mind that I can see what I look like. I can see the dog that I had, and so I have this in my mind. Now, I have a photographic memory with total and complete recall of everything I see, read, and hear. And I have told myself that at least 10,000 times. Programming my mind to think and do what I want it to do. I don't always remember things instantly when people ask me a question. And Ryan, I don't know if you ever experienced this. Somebody would ask you something, and you go on you say, look, give me a minute, I'll think of it. Have we not all said that? Give me a minute, I'll think of it. So in effect, what you did was you told your subconscious mind, which is separate from your conscious mind, you have told your subconscious mind, hey, go down and find this information. And all of a sudden, you're going on with your conversation, and a minute or two later, what happens, Ryan? Most likely, there it is. It comes to your mind. A name you were trying to remember, a movie, or whatever it was. You have that power. But it has to be developed. God gave us, He created us in His image with all power over all living things on earth and ether. But you've got to work it. You have to develop it. Otherwise, you'll never know how to use it, so you have to practice it. And in order to practice it, you need to read some books that have instructions in it that are quantitative, and they are quality instructions that have been proven. And this book called Think and Grow Rich, remember there are 3 books, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends, Influence People, and The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. Schwartz. I challenge you, if you really want to change your future, and I tell people, I don't have a time machine. I can't go back and start over again. I can't take you back and start over again. But I surely can change the ending of your movie if you want. You gotta want it. Now, I'm looking at the table of contents of Think and Grow Rich. Now, the first chapter, it says, thoughts are things. The man who thought his way into partnership with Thomas Edison. And he tells a story about a guy that he ended up being a partner with Thomas Edison, who was, we know who Thomas Edison was and the inventions that he created, and the story of the light bulb. After he had tried 10,000 times, he said, well, that was 10,000 times that I realized that it didn't work. So we're going on, and that's what he did. So thoughts are things, and you have to accept that. Chapter number 2 is about desire. And I think this is the most important of all. You got to want it. I was in the Amway business for a while. I shared some story with you about some things in my past. And I had settled a death claim on a baby early in my career with Prudential. And I remember going and delivering that $5,000 check to John and Beverly Sherbine, who lived in Falston. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And their baby was like 5 months old and died in the middle of the afternoon from viral pneumonia. And she was doing the dishes and come back in the room and the baby was dead. And Beverly didn't speak a word for over 4 months and going forward. So we're going to take a break here and we're going to come back. I want to talk about this table of contents in Think and Grow Rich.
In Beaver County, there are many great stories to tell. One such worthy story is that of the Drug-Free Aliquippa program. Now in its 4th year, the project has enjoyed great success through in-school interaction, education, raising awareness, and data analysis. Drug-Free Aliquippa has a mission to help local youth make better decisions regarding alcohol and drug use. For more information or to find out how you can get involved, visit Drug-Free Aliquippa on Facebook.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
For the 14th year, Eyes in Beaver County will turn to the skies on Saturday, June the 29th for Push Beaver County's Beaver County Boom. Beaver County Boom is presented by Visit Beaver County, and it's bigger and better than ever. There will be skydivers and an Air Heritage vintage military airplane will fly over, followed by the star of the show, Beaver County Boom at 9:45. It all takes place over the Ohio River between Monaca and Rochester. Bring your radio along or listen on your smart device to the Falcones Moon Township Ford live broadcast on Beaver County Radio beginning at 6. Title presenter sponsor of Beaver County Boom is Visit Beaver County. Gold sponsors include Temco Industries and Zambelli Fireworks. Silver sponsors include AK Nahas Furniture and Appliances, the Borough of Beaver, the Borough of Monaca, Brentwood Bank, Clearview Credit Union, and Fort McIntosh Foundation, among others. Don't miss out on Beaver County Boom, Saturday, June the 29th, right here on Beaver County Radio.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Titanic the Musical, our majestic and beautiful season finale, presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union, June 21st through the 30th. Get tickets now at LincolnParkArts.org.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, we're back, and we're running out of time today, and I'm not out of material, but I'll have more for tomorrow. We're going to continue to help you expand your mind and your thinking and your future. We were talking about this table of contents of Think and Grow Rich, and chapter 2, the title of the chapter is called Desire, the starting point of all achievement. The man who burned the bridges. There's a story about a military. They were going to a foreign land, and when they got on the beach, the captain gave the order to burn the ships. And everybody looked at each other. What the heck you doing, burning the ship? We either win or we die here. That's desire. You have to want it. And I've heard that so many times in my life. I haven't always had the desire. And even at this point in my life, I believe I know what my purpose is. I keep searching for that. I gave a talk in Detroit to a brokerage organization called Flexible Plans. They're one of my advisors, money managers, and I was the keynote speaker at their annual meeting a number of years ago. And the title of my talk was Start With Your Why. And there's an author named Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book called Start With Your Why. And Jody Victor, one of my mentors in my life from years ago, and he's still there. I still see him a couple times a year. And he always said to me, he says, as you grow in speaking, because that was part of the training in the Amway business, was to get up in front of a room and do a meeting and do a presentation. So it was about learning how to be a speaker at the same time of learning how to be a businessman. And he said the best talks that are ever given are from a book somebody read. And I never forgot that. And so this talk that I gave in Detroit, the title of the talk was Start With Your Why. And I would highly recommend that you read that book, Start With Your Why, by a guy named Simon Sinek. Great, great book. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about your why. You know, why do you want to be more? And if nothing more, let me put this thought in your mind. If you have young children, the person you are is going to have great influence on the person they become. So if you're the couch potato and that's your life, don't complain when your kids become the same way. Because iron sharpens iron. You've got to be on the go. You've got to be chasing your dreams. Chapter number 3 is faith. How to develop faith. No one is doomed to bad luck. Now, when I talk about faith, you could talk about religion. I'm a Catholic. I practice my faith. I'm a convert. I was a Christian when I got married, and I converted to Catholic after I got married from my wife. And it's just, they always say people that are converts are more strong in their faith than other people. But I think in this book, the faith comes from your faith in the great thing can happen in your life. Your faith in yourself. Do you believe in yourself? And even if you don't at this time, you have to develop, and there's a chapter in the book called a section talking about autosuggestion. So the magic of self-suggestion, your ability to develop a self-talk. Now, what do I mean by a self-talk? I have a self-talk. I know I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I here now promise to render such action. I know the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of the person that I want to become. Now, I remember? Yeah, I did. I say that. It's on my mirror in my private bathroom in my basement where I get showered. And so you have to make a decision on where you want to go. And if you really want something bad enough, you have to master some techniques and some tools and things to use to help program your mind for success. And that's all this is talking about. Chapter 4, there's autosuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. If you're a smoker, why can't you quit? It's a habit. Habits can be created in doing anything. The habit of memorizing my self-talk and repeating it aloud to myself in front of a mirror with emotion, that is how you turn on your desire. I meet people when I talk about potential and financial planning, the unique approach that I have, and I'll ask people a question: do you know anybody that is rich? I mean, Ryan, do you know anybody that's rich? I mean, really well-off rich?
Not many people.
Not. But you might know one person. Okay. Did they get rich because they maximized their 401k? I don't think so. They got rich because they come up with an idea, a product, or a plan or something that people were wanting, that somebody wanted, and they wanted a lot of it. And that helped this person create a business and became rich. Wrote a book, became an author, made $1 million. And people that win the lottery, that's a scary event. And I buy a lottery ticket once in a while, I do. But I know that 80% of all the people that won the big lottery monies, they end up dead or dead broke. They go to jail, they lose everything, and everything going around that. And we got something going on. Breaking news, Wilmington, Delaware. Hunter Biden has been convicted of all 3 felony charges related to the purchase of a revolver. In 2018, when prosecutors argued, he lied on the mandatory gun purchase form by saying he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. Jurors found Hunter Biden guilty of lying to the federally licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on the application by saying he was not a drug user, and illegally having the gun for 11 days. First Lady Jill Biden arrived at the courthouse minutes after the jury delivered the verdict and was not in the courtroom when it was read. The judge did not set a sentencing date. Wow, that is breaking news.
That came out quick, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, it surely did. So maybe there's hope for the justice system in America. And back to our table of contents. The next one is specialized knowledge, personal experiences or observations. The ignorant man who made a fortune. There are stories all through this book that help you relate to really believing in you, to believe the great thing can happen in your life. Next chapter, chapter 6, is called Imagination, the workshop of the mind. Now, I always challenge people because some people that we listen to, it's almost like they're saying nothing's ever going to be created again. There's nothing new coming, nothing going on, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? We're sitting here in this studio, and I don't know how much of this stuff works, Ryan, but somebody had to think of it in their mind before it became a reality. True?
Absolutely.
How about a computer? Bill Gates, he had to come up with some kind of imaginative dream in some way to create what it was. So you need to learn how to massage your imagination. You can give your imagination some exercise, the laws that lead to fortune, how to make practical use of the imagination, the enchanted kettle, what I would do if I had $1 million, how to transmute ideas into cash. So, and I could go on. I'm not going to go through all, but if you really care about your future, if you want to apply yourself, if you want to become what God meant you to be, what God expects us to be. I believe that in life, that's all our obligation is, to become the best me that I can become in God's eyes. He created us in his image with all power over every living thing. And that takes me to Nelson's rules. One of them is called use it or lose it. And so how many times have you in your life, you decided not to do something and it's gone. You use it or lose it. And that's one of Nelson's things that I learned a long time ago. And let me end with one thing here. I'm going to talk about this. In other words, breaking the poverty cycle in your life. Drop negative language and words. If you use curse words, stop. In the Old Testament, those that use derogatory, gutter language, curse words today, they have a negative impact on your mind. And if you use those out, you're sitting at the table with your 10-year-old granddaughter, and you're sitting there, and you're going to pass them freaking potatoes. It just think about it. You've got to become the best you can be if you expect great things to happen in your life. And I think we're at the end, and what we're doing. Drop negative words. Learn to relax. The stress is killing a lot of people. You got to learn to relax. And part of that relaxing is believing. In other words, I can take time to relax. I earned the right to relax. Make a plan to achieve your goals. And because plans. And when you're planning a trip, people say, well, how do you plan a trip? Well, first off, you got to know where you want to go. No. You have to know where you're at. Otherwise, the map doesn't know where to begin at. You have to know where you are at today before you go forward. And I'm gonna read my little poem as I end today. The little chap who follows me. A careful man I want to be, a little fellow follows me. I do not dare to go astray, for fear he'll go the selfsame way. I cannot once escape his eyes, whatever he sees me do, he tries. Like me, he says he's going to be the little chap who follows me. He thinks that I'm so very fine, believes in every word of mine. The bass in me he must not see, the little chap who follows me. I must remember as I go through summer sun and winter snow, I'm building for the years to be, the little chap who follows me. God bless. See you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WB.